ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Cantina Conversations. This is a tough one. I'll just go with the classic. I'm the Sheen Love Interest now. I'm allowed.
I am the living force, Taylor Field.
Living force. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do today, these episodes are, they're just kind of random. We've been having them lately. Apparently, we're going to have a bounty hunters discussion soon, things like that. We end up discussing or debating, you can check out our Force Babies cast stuff, and we gotta bring it to Cantina. That's what Cantina's kind of been. We do new stuff. Check out our Clone Wars retro on Patreon. That will drop to the public eventually at some point once the show's coming out. We'll drop those, but if not, they're exclusive to Patreon right now. $1 gets you half of them, and $5 gets you all. And we just had a huge conversation about if Obi-Wan and certain Jedi should be allowed to get it on, and that might have to do a little bit today. But we have a big conversation today. Is Qui Gon Jinn the biggest idiot of the Star Wars galaxy? That's not it. But we're going to debate. I don't even know how it started. But me and Taylor start talking about the idea again of the Chosen One. You guys know how I feel. I would say listen to the Chosen One episode first, actually, before you listen to this, because there's kind of some crossover with that. But to throw it out, I think that the Chosen One, that is just a myth. That thing doesn't exist. But then Taylor also thinks that, the Chosen One is the thing, but then he contrives to what Qui-Gon thinks, and then I have some counters, whatnot. Where do you want to start?
I think you should start first. Lay down, your main juicy thing at the very just bubble it up. Lay it down. I won't interrupt you. Let you go, and then I will go in response.
Well, I don't know where, because we've talked so many times. I'm trying to figure
out. With Qui-Gon.
Well, with Qui-Gon, so this is the thing. So Qui-Gon, I guess I'll preface this. Honestly, one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. I don't know if he would make my top 10 because they're a lot of good characters, but he might be 10. He honestly might be. We've got to do an official rankings episode. We'll probably do a rankings episode closer to episode 9. But he's probably in there. If not, he's a very close honorable mention. But I think he's probably 10. I don't know. There's lots of good ones. So I got a preference that I think he is a very good character in the movies that aren't that great. I think he is the best part of the Phantom Menace easily. I don't think killing him off was a mistake because I think that was the crux of the story, and that kind of leads to the downfall. I think for me, and I think this is Taylor's problem in life sometimes, is that so we have this debate all the time about Iron Man as well. Iron Man to me, in the movies, is a terrible character. He's a great character from a written standpoint, but when you look what he's done, he created Ultron. And then the Civil War stuff happened. And you could argue, as I watched Infinity War, there's something else he did as well recently, or we talked about, there's another point I had. But when I was watching Infinity War, you could argue, and Tanner's going, oh, no, but you could argue that he might be responsible for Thanos winning or getting the snap. You know why? At the end, when they go to space, if the Avengers aren't broken up because Tony's a little dick and he has to do the Civil War stuff, if they're all together, there's a chance they all go to space and they win that. Could you agree with that? That that's another thing in Iron Man?
This is your debate?
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking on the Iron Man thing, though. Don't you agree that if the Avengers all together, they go to space, there's a chance that they can just take them out right there? Because they got Scarlet Witch then, they got Vision, they got the whole clan. They're not broken up.
If they were all together taking Thanos alone, I think they could have stopped him, but Doctor Strange didn't see that as an option.
But that's because the team was already broken up. I'm saying the team wasn't broken up.
But Doctor Strange could have made a portal for both people just to...
But then you'd be like, I haven't seen you since you said Bucky killed my dad. And you're really awkward.
They would have fought.
Yeah, but I'm saying, that's the thing. So this is the thing I always bring up all the time, that I enjoy characters that are terribly written in the sense of not terribly written, but written in a way where they have points of view that are terrible or that could screw the universe. In my point of view, that Qui-Gon and his views and him being guilty kind of made it... It's his fault potentially that Darth Vader exists, because he found Anakin and he was all about we need to train him. Even the whole council was like, maybe we shouldn't do this. He's a little too old, and we sent some motion in him. And Qui-Gon was just like, oh, whatever, I'll still train him. I was like, okay. And I know what Taylor's going to argue, but I think that, and that's what I like about the prequels, it leaves up to debate as far as, what was he thinking Qui-Gon as far as training him. But really, they don't know if that's the way... The debate is what Taylor's going to bring up is this whole thing of what does the prophecy of the Chosen One mean. And that's why I'm glad when I rewatched the prequels, Obi-Wan supported me. Taylor's method of what does the Chosen One mean, it'll bring balance to the Force, and that's kind of what Qui-Gon is, right? You have to have light to meet the dark. Where Obi-Wan, you look at when he chops I have the high ground. He literally says, "You're the chosen one. You're supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them. You're supposed to bring balance to the Force." I'm on Obi-Wan's side, where I've always looked at the chosen one, balance to the Force is it's just good guys. There's no bad guys because we don't need the bad guys killing innocent people. Where Taylor is trying to say that new comics and canons and whatnot they'll make Qui-Gon right, but my thing is you can't go and retcon that and Taylor say it's not retconning. They own it. But in a way, it kind of is. For me, with Disney doing stuff, I can appreciate or I can not appreciate. I'm fine with them doing whatever they want with Kylo, Finn, Rey, Poe, the characters they create. But to go back and say, or try to say like, oh, Qui-Gon was right all along. No, it should be left to interpretation. That's sometimes why I dislike canon is they try to explain every little thing. They shouldn't try and be like, oh, Qui-Gon was right. The Force is about being balanced. No, it should be up to the chosen one. It's up to interpretation. That's up to interpretation. I don't like when they try to explain everything. And the best way I can lay this out to Taylor and some fans as well is we have this thing called the Geek vs. Gauntlet. It's our esports gaming league. We have titles, we have matches, we have rankings, all this deal. And the thing is, in the first season, we play characters, exaggerated versions of ourselves. In the first season, I was a bad guy. It was all about me versus everybody else. We wouldn't shake hands, this and that. And it was just about me being a shitty poor sport and I was winning. But what if all of a sudden, someone had bought Geek First, and they went back, we want to go back to the Geek First Season 1, we're going to explain that, everybody, Taylor, Dylan, Ty, you guys were actually all the bad guys, and Travis was actually the good guy. It was real that you guys were cheating the whole time, blah, blah, and I wouldn't like that. It's not retconning, it's adding to the story, but sometimes adding to the story can seem too much trying to retcon. That's why for me, and with Episode 9 coming out, I know some people still want Rey to be someone's daughter and whatnot, and maybe it's not an exact retcon, it's adding to the story, but if it doesn't flow at a natural rate, that to me can feel like a retcon. If it doesn't feel natural, and that's why for me, I'm not sure what Taylor's going to say is, and we'll get into it, but I think Qui-Gon, as far as the debate, I think him taking on Anakin and being so bullheaded about it, there's an argument that he caused everything to go wrong. Because if Anakin just stays on Tatooine, none of this happens. None of this happens. And maybe you can argue, okay, Palpatine goes and gets him, blah, blah. But that's different. Because then he's an apprentice. He doesn't have the personal connections with Obi Wan and Padme. And he's in Coruscant. If he stays on Tatooine and he just doesn't train him, there's a chance that, yeah, Luke isn't born and all this. But there's a chance that everyone's safe and it's fine. They would have maybe beat the Emperor at some point. Who knows? I don't know. But I think there's an argument. And that's where I'll probably try to make that Qui-Gon responsible for all this. So I'm not sure where you're going to start because there's lots to... This Qui-Gon issue has been weeks brewing and it's very all over the map. So I'll try to stay clear on one topic.
So how I'm going to start off is, for me, when I look at it, balance, especially in the Force, you look at it like a yin and yang symbol. You have light and you have dark. That is balance. Yin and yang is the perfect example of that.
Thanos.
And then if you look into Last Jedi, for example, when Rey is reaching out to the Force and Luke is saying, "What do you feel?" And she says, "I feel like life, and I feel like death, decay, that creates new life." And that is, the Force in between it all. That is the balance. You have death and decay, the darkness, and you have new life, which is the light. And you have that coming together, creating the balance, like a yin-yang scenario. And that is what the balance needs to strive to be. And in this case, if you jump to if Qui-Gon never were to have popped up to save or start training Anakin, and it would have, saved thousands of Jedi, all that stuff. I don't believe that because it could have just meant that maybe Darth Maul would be alive still and that it would have changed so many different outcomes. And that being said, then Palpatine would have had someone else assume the role. And let's say Darth Maul died, Count Dooku died, it didn't work out, and Anakin was there on Tatooine, and Palpatine went off to recruit Anakin. Whoever Palpatine chose, no one knew who Darth Vader was when Darth Vader assumed command under Emperor's right hand or whatever. No one knew who he was. He was just an outsider thrown into this military position. So really, any Sith or any other person, even if it was Anakin trained outside the Jedi Order, could have been thrown into that position, and everyone would have accepted it because the purge would have still happened. The clones still would have killed everyone. It still would have taken place. So
well, but not exact, because you don't know if Palpatine was waiting for the right moment, right? And
we
when
don't know when that is.
But that's what I mean. But in that story, it was when Mace Windu attacked him, right? Because he could say treason, that they were the Jedi were conspiring against the government, right? there's a chance that doesn't happen if Anakin goes to and talks to him. So that's what I mean. Anakin being gone, they may not find out the Emperor is that guy, like is Palpatine. That might be because they didn't before Anakin. I don't understand how they still don't find him out. Palpatine's a pretty shady guy and terrible Jedi. I know it's supposed to be because Palpatine's that strong, but I digress. The thing is, Anakin set that up as far as, he's the guy we've been looking for, and then Mace Windu goes there and everything like that. And Anakin saves, he doesn't let Mace Windu kill the Emperor. Even though the Emperor might have been baiting him, still, Anakin has like a lot of bad things he does there.
But you take that out, the Clone Wars still happen.
Yeah.
And, the Jedi don't go, because yes, the Palpatine baited Anakin into telling the Mace Windu to go to confront, the Emperor. It was all in his plan. But all of that happens, he could have easily corrupted another Jedi. He could have easily gone away, gone down a different path and done something different. He could have easily just gave a tip to the Jedi, an anonymous tip, that the Emperor is the Sith Lord, and could have had them go there, because the Clone Wars happened without Anakin's cause, and they resolved if you pull Anakin out of that equation, the Jedi still die. Everything, Order 66 still happens.
Yeah, but you don't know that for sure, because there's things where Anakin goes, and he could have got another Jedi, but you don't know if it would have been as strong as Anakin.
True, but I mean, it doesn't change the fact that Order 66 still happens without Anakin. Because we know now that, yes, Sidious did use the Force to create life. He created Anakin. But for whatever the reason, even I don't know, he did not go and find Anakin. Maybe he just didn't know where he was, and that's why he trained Darth Maul.
Yeah, that's another topic for a different day.
It is.
That I don't know what that is, which that's maybe
that
so
is something that does get talked about, later, obviously where Maul is with the Clone Wars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that Maul does actually talk about.
Which I will bring up, which we'll talk about maybe on another cast another time, but I don't understand how people, this whole comic book reveal of Palpatine being Vader's father, I feel like I got that when I was fucking 12 at Revenge of the Sith. How are people just figuring this out now? I feel like he lays this on as thick as possible in that opera scene, and everyone's like, it's confirmed. I guess everyone's saying because it's confirmed, but that's, I guess, my problem. That's back to the Qui Gon thing with canon sometimes. It just feels like they just gotta throw stuff in your face when it's just like,
well,
I like that being
outside of it, already. And then
but why is everyone acting like this?
Well, because when Disney bought it, it's like,
it was reconfirming it.
It was reconfirming because everything that Disney got and acquired, all the old stuff, kind of like Boba Fett is still, he's dead now. That's how it's looked at.
So I agree with you, and that's where I will give the point to that. I agree with you. The war, I'd say we could come to an agreement that without Anakin being there, the war could maybe or maybe not gone the good guys' way, right? We'll just go with that because we'd have to rewrite the entire prequels, and maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do what would happen if Qui-Gon survived and what would happen, and maybe we'll talk about that now. But let's just talk about Vader. So with Anakin, I don't think Qui-Gon. This is a problem. He doesn't. Not that he doesn't trust the council, but he doesn't agree with a lot of their ways. Also, you've talked about some stuff in canon. Even in the movie, the small time we've seen with the council and Phantom Menace, you can see that he is butting heads. Count Dooku hints that, maybe they would have teamed up. You and me both disagree with that, but still, he had a different mindset than the council. But don't you think that still, in a way, maybe put them on a bad path? Because he linked, Obi Wan felt like, and we also read that for people. I guess we didn't say we read the Age of Rebellion?
Age of Republic comics.
Age of Republic. We read the Qui-Gon one and the Obi-Wan one, so there might be some spoilers that, and we'll talk about that. I think when all those comics are done, we're gonna talk about them all together at some point. But they kind of reference this, and you kind of get that in the movies. Wise that to me, Obi-Wan doesn't train Anakin unless Qui-Gon dies, because one, Qui-Gon's alive and he trains him, but it does feel like Obi-Wan's just training him because Qui-Gon felt so strong about him. So I feel strong about Qui-Gon, so I'm going to train him. But really, it was a mistake to train Anakin.
And that's something that they actually talk about in the Obi-Wan comic.
Yeah.
They actually, they cover the fact that, Anakin calls him out, you just had to settle for me because Qui-Gon died. Now, and I totally, agree with that, but I do think, going back, a couple topics before, how Qui-Gon being... butting heads with the council. Yes, he does that all the time. But again, that's something that they show in the Qui-Gon comic, how he senses that, he just blindly jumps to hyperspace using the Force, and then he lands on this planet, and he meditates, and he senses, okay, a means through balance beyond conflict of light and dark.
But
and I think that is something again that resonated with him, that he saw within Anakin. He saw a child that was strong on the light side and had fear and anger of the dark, but he was still alive and had the ability to be balanced. And I think that's why Qui-Gon wanted to train him. But that being said, with Qui-Gon looking at it from that point of view, you have the Council looking at, oh, here is the possible chosen one who we can use as a tool to destroy the Sith, instead of looking at it as being a tool to create balance.
But that's what I mean. Also, that's what I was saying earlier about the writers. They are making that have more context now, instead of, like, now in the movies, he doesn't have this vision. He doesn't have this grand plan about, like, oh, the light and dark could be the way. He just senses that this boy is very powerful and the chosen one's supposed to be powerful, right? That's the reason he does it in the movies.
No.
Why else?
He senses that he's powerful, but I sense that the power as well is that he is, he's more powerful than Yoda. He has the ability and the strength.
Chlorine count.
Yeah, he has the ability and the strength to be the balance between both sides.
He doesn't say that though in the movies.
No, but they say in the Jedi Council chambers that he has a lot of fear and anger, a lot of hate, all this stuff, and that is something that Qui-Gon, the Jedi Council fears that, but that's something Qui-Gon sees as an opportunity and the ability for Anakin to balance both, and that's why he wanted to train him.
But that's the problem that's why I like that you're inferring that. But in the comic, they try and say, "Oh, that's the way." You could also take it that Qui-Gon is going to try his best to train him and get that out of him, the dark side stuff, and he feels that he can be a great Jedi and he doesn't need to have that dark side stuff in him.
You could look at it like that for sure.
And that's why, unless George Lucas is writing this comic book, all the stuff that they're inferring about Qui-Gon, and it's fun because I want them to. They own it. It's fun to read, but I don't ever take it as full on fact because it's like they are just interpreting what George Lucas said. Unless George Lucas, which you can't say is in the back room writing these comic books or giving ideas, unless he is coming down saying like, okay, this is what I really meant with Qui-Gon, it's just someone's interpretation. Because I could have easily got that comic book and written, no, I feel like Qui-Gon's a jerk or like an idiot, and he saw things completely wrong. Because this is my other thing. He sees a vision, right? Obi-Wan, we've talked about this a few times off-cast, and I just brought it up now. He clearly does not look at the chosen one the same way you or Qui-Gon does, right? It's on my camp. So how come he's another guy that I imagine he's having visions, he's connected with the Force, how come he sees it with such a different way? So that's why I don't think Qui-Gon having this vision of seeing light and dark, you can't take that as just the gospel, because Obi-Wan, who's a master, a great Jedi, he's probably having these Force visions, he's seeing and feeling something, and he feels it's the exact opposite where we just need to kill all the Sith, right?
Qui-Gon trained Obi-Wan, but never completed Obi-Wan's training. Obi-Wan was still a Padawan when Qui-Gon died. So a lot of the training that Obi-Wan had was probably rushed and completed by other Jedi, learning from other Jedi that believed in exactly what you're saying. So he never got... That's why Dooku and Qui-Gon have such a resemblance, because both their trainings were completed, and they both then were able to share certain ideologies in that sense of like what the Jedi Council is. They're based in a standing point of the Republic. They're looked at as warriors. Again, something that they talk about in the comic is that it wasn't... Yoda calls him out and says, like, is it you were called a coward? Is that what's bothering you? And he says, no, it's because they call me a warrior, and that's something that we aren't. We should be away from that. And even Yoda is very good about handling and communing with Qui-Gon in that sense, which gives batter up to the fact that Yoda trained Dooku and Dooku trained Qui-Gon.
I don't like Yoda 100% in that comic book, because at one point Qui-Gon's like talking about ways the council should change, and Yoda's like, well, the council's not going to change, so that's it. I've never looked at Yoda as such a absolute sort of character. Like, he said something like that, like, I'd have to pull it up, but he said something where it's just like, no, like, the council wouldn't consider that, and Qui-Gon's like, I know, but it's just like, Yoda usually, even if he disagreed, he was open to hearing things, but...
Yeah, and he says that. He says, we need to ask questions, so he's not opposed to it, he's not shutting them down, because he handles it in a very good, open Jedi-like way, but even in the movies, Yoda does display that kind of tendency of being like, this, the line is drawn, and... He was very much against training Anakin. Again, they show that in the comics. But yet, Yoda did tell, and believe in Obi-Wan, saying that, yes, I believed he should have been trained as a Jedi, but if you're to train a Jedi, he needs to be trained to the fullest. Otherwise, a poorly trained Jedi is even worse.
So this is the thing, because I guess my problem is, so here's the quote I have. Qui-Gon says, and yet our actions are a reflection of our purpose. Perhaps the Jedi Council residing here in the capital is part of the problem, capital being on Coruscant. We are used as a weapon of the Republic, and thus we are seen as such, perhaps even by ourselves. And then Yoda says, on this point, the Council would not agree. The reason I took that as, like, maybe I took it a little wrong as far as him falling and saying no, but he doesn't shed any light on how he feels about the situation. He didn't say yes or no, and with him being on the council, I took that as him saying, well, that's the way it is,
Again, I think that's up for interpretation depending on the reader, because yeah, you could look at it that way. I took it as, he seems like he's communing and he's promoting Qui-Gon to, ask questions. It's a good thing. So I took it as he shares the same kind of belief as Qui-Gon, but he knows the rest of the council members are much more based on this kind of, standing point with the Jedi Order and their beliefs and all that stuff.
So I guess with Qui-Gon, so he chooses, he wants to train him, right? He passes, well, he gets killed. It doesn't go well for him. My thing is, let's talk about this. So, because I'm in the camp, like I said, I think there's a chance that Qui-Gon, I don't believe, you can take it up to interpretation. I don't think if Qui-Gon was alive, he would have saved everything. But let's take it. I talk about maybe another cast. We'll talk about it now. If he was alive and he trained Anakin, the thing that is the X factor in here is Padme, and we don't know in other worlds, like, would they still be on the same mission, blah, 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 but let's say it's the exact same scenario, right? Let's say Obi-Wan is out of this equation, he's off, and it's Qui-Gon and, oh boy, in that elevator, Qui-Gon and Anakin go into there. How do you feel that's different? Because we talked about this on, go check out Clone Wars Retro, that Qui-Gon's a bit more of a hippie Jedi, right? He's all about, not looking at the code, being a bit more loose. And I have the idea that I feel like we talked about, the verses of, not being in a relationship, no sex versus you're allowed, all that. I feel like Qui-Gon, if he were to change things, Council, he would possibly change that. Because, like I said, he is kind of like a hippie Jedi. How would Qui-Gon have handled... are you in the full-on camp that if Qui-Gon was alive, Anakin would have not been turned to the dark side?
I strongly believe that. Right away, you can see in Phantom Menace... Anakin and Qui-Gon's relationship,
they have a much better connection than Obi-Wan.
Way better than Obi-Wan, absolutely. And even that being said, in the elevator scene, when Anakin's getting all giddy,
I haven't seen that in years.
10 years, master.
10 years, master.
That whole thing, he's just Obi-Wan. If you look at him, Obi-Wan is just kind of disregarding it and shutting himself off to that emotional kind of take on it, and Anakin's just letting it, flourish. Where I feel like if that was Qui-Gon, I feel like Qui-Gon would be able to identify that and properly help Anakin. Well, he'd properly help Anakin, realize these emotions he's feeling and properly handle them. And I think he wouldn't dismiss them like Obi-Wan did. That's
true, dismiss them. But do you think he would have still not wanted him and Padme to be an item? Because Anakin, that's one thing, and maybe it's different the way as far as he was trained. But I get a sense of even when you meet Anakin as a kid, as little Annie. He's also like Qui-Gon. He's very bullheaded, and he wants to do what he wants to do. So there's a part of me that, yes, Qui-Gon could have been a training, but still the second he would have saw Padme, because he had built her up for 10 years like an angel, that no matter what Qui-Gon taught him, he was always going to be after Padme. So my thing is not, would he stop Padme? My thing is, okay, Anakin and Padme are a thing. What does Qui-Gon do about it? Because I don't think Qui-Gon could have stopped Anakin
I genuinely think that he would not stop it. I think he would allow it. I really do. I think, honestly, it would go to back up his idea of having the balance between light and dark. I think that this
Padme, go release your dark side. Padme.
I think this would genuinely just help. It would create the growth to Anakin, because not having that allowed, when you're told not to push the button, you're gonna push the button. It's what any Jedi Padawan.
So you're saying Qui-Gon would tell him to go push the button?
Tell him to go.
So that's what I mean. So if there was a rules council, you think he'd want that rule taken out then?
I think he would probably. See, it's hard.
Qui-Gon's a weird cat.
We don't know enough about Qui-Gon, and a lot of this is just based on what we know of his character.
Mm-hmm. In one movie.
In one movie, and he's predicting how his actions would reflect in future content. So...
Because he don't really talk about that in his Force Ghost certain ways. It's all about, other stuff going on.
Yeah. So, I think that... I don't know if he would, push for the rest of the Jedi to start shaking their bacon or anything like that. But, I think he... I think that he would, advocate for Anakin, because Anakin he sees as a chosen one. I think he sees as... there's something that could come out of it. I think it would take a bit of swaying for him. But...
See, and so this is what I mean as far as the chosen one, because this is something I wrote down. For me, the other way of I can get on board of the balance of the light and the dark is Luke in Return of the Jedi. We've talked about that all before, that he uses the dark side, he kind of channels it, especially in that last fight with Palpatine and Vader. But when he feels like he can go too far over the edge, he stops himself and Palpatine tries to kill him. Vader saves him. So there's luckily for that. But really, he doesn't succumb to that. To me, that's it. As far as the Chosen One, do you still feel like there's a balance of light and dark? Do you feel like Qui-Gon just feel like that's in one person, or do you feel like that's the same way as you sometimes view it as that? Because I still feel like Qui-Gon wanted to kill. He would have killed people 100% like the Sith. I don't view it as he wanted to keep the Sith around. Or Last Jedi, maybe they kind of hint around that. I feel, if the way you're throwing that he felt Anakin could be what Luke was in Return of the Jedi and balance it. So Qui-Gon, really hunt down all those Sith people.
Qui-Gon definitely was an advocate, for killing the Sith, because obviously
he was.
He looked at it as the Sith and the Jedi are both at fault. And again, that's what he says in the comic, and again, you can feel it emanating off of him in Phantom Menace too. Like, he doesn't like, he hates the Sith, obviously, and he's not happy with where the Jedi stand right now. And, but if you remove both of those, and I think that's why he would probably have leaned more towards being a good gray Jedi in that sense, having the passion of the Sith and, something of the Jedi.
Strictness of the Jedi?
Well, not the strictness, but like they're just
compassion, or
no, because like the Sith is like their passion through their strength and all that stuff, and the Jedi are like
the Jedi still have compassion though, because that's the whole because Qui-Gon easily has compassion because there's no reason why he wouldn't have tried to save her and Anakin, or Shmi and Anakin, because that's what was the original deal, remember? And that's the other thing I want to bring up, because I've been watching the prequels because we had this debate, especially coming up with Qui-Gon. He does try, like I said, in that deal with Watto to get the boy and his mother. What would he, not in the Shmi Qui-Gon way, but what would he have done if his mother was free? Because, like, most Jedi, they're very cold, right? They're calculating, where I don't feel like Qui-Gon is that. I feel like Qui-Gon's he might be the most compassionate, like, emotional Jedi out there. Not in an Anakin way, but as far as caring, because Obi-Wan cares, but he's still pretty calculating and whatnot.
Yeah.
With that, what would they have done if Shmi did come along? Because most of the time they just go, even Obi-Wan in that comic talked about how he was taken as a young child, right? And he was trained, he doesn't really remember much of his childhood because he was so young, I wasn't as old as you, he said something like that in that comic book. I've always found that peculiar, of not in the way of, maybe he liked Shmi and he wanted to have her around, but what would he have done if, because that's also not part of the code
I think that it wouldn't have been a sense of like bringing her along the Coruscant, making her like rich and hotty-totty and all that stuff. I think it would have been like, he would have probably gave her the opportunity to start her own life and let Anakin have that satisfaction of knowing that she's safe, she's secure, and she is free. Because the slavery thing is the thing that really sticks with Anakin.
Yeah.
And so I think that if he could do that, it would calm a huge part of that fear, anger, and everything that was resonating inside Anakin, and it would help balance that out, and it wouldn't keep everything in like shaking and out of sequence and everything like that. So there's another thing I wanted to pinpoint on though.
Yeah, you made some good points. I said Qui-Gon's my favorite, but I still think it was maybe a little reckless of him to still take on Anakin. Plus, he didn't know he was going to die, but putting that burden on Obi-Wan when he dies, his promise me to train the boy, which Obi-Wan in Phantom Menace, you can tell with the other ones, but in Phantom Menace, he is with the Council, and he does not want Anakin to be trained. And yeah, some people kind of say, it's a little jealousy, it's a new Padawan, but he's ready to become a master, he's ready to move on. He does not see things the same way as Qui-Gon does. So that's where, to me, he kind of screwed up as far as, like, he didn't plan on dying, so I guess I can't put that on him. But as far as he set it in motion of... And that's where I could say that maybe him leaving Tatooine is a good idea, because maybe there's a chance that if he was around to train Anakin, he could have saved him. But I still think there's a chance he could go down the dark side, who knows. But he still set up Anakin to be in a poor situation with Obi-Wan kind of being like an adoptive stepfather instead of more like your master or like a father-like figure, and Obi-Wan and him didn't combine. So that's why I kind of say my choice of like, he didn't know he was going to die, but still, he kind of screwed the universe that way as far as creating Vader, and then what Vader did later, hunt down the Jedi, he killed many people, helped with the Death Star, because when Qui-Gon dies, Anakin's left in this situation, where if Qui-Gon, if the events still play out the same way and Qui-Gon died, Anakin would just be on Tatooine. True, Emperor would have just found him, but maybe the Emperor, like we said, maybe the Emperor didn't know where he was. So what if Qui-Gon bringing Anakin into Coruscant, bringing him near Palpatine, what if that was Palpatine being like, oh, this is that thing I created years ago, right? Where I don't know if I buy that, because if he's specifically in that comic book that they show, I never took it as that. In my mind, it was he's creating something with the Force, and then it creates a life and it goes out the way. I didn't ever look at it as like he finds Shmi and he's like doing surgery over. Yeah, I didn't like that. Like they made it so obvious. Oh, I guess it was like an Anakin vision though.
It was a vision. It was literally him creeping over Shmi.
So that's why I've always taken that he created life and just went out there and it's somewhere. And I don't know, like we're talking about Maul and stuff. I don't know if he knew or whatnot, but if he did know, that was also Qui-Gon's fault. Of there's a chance Palpatine and him never meet if it's not for Qui-Gon. And so, I mean, I love Qui-Gon. I wish he survived and trained him, but really, I feel like in my no, I don't know, closing statements, but he maybe screwed the universe a little bit.
The fact that he died and forced it onto Obi-Wan was definitely just, it was not the way things are supposed to be. And again, even that being said, you know, Qui-Gon had that contingency set up because he's the one who discovered the secret of immortality. He's the one who discovered and went to, I can't remember the planet name, but the priest.
You said a little late though.
Well, he never completed his training though. That's why he wasn't ever able to manifest himself in a full form. Only in certain situations he's able to, which you'll see in the Clone Wars. Excuse me. But he's still able to reach out and commune, like vocally at certain moments and stuff. But without him, you don't have, you know, Luke achieving. Obviously, we know immortality. We don't have, you know.
But there's a chance you don't need all that if somehow Darth Vader's not around, they end up winning and they take out Palpatine without, you know, Anakin.
No, but if Darth Vader's not around, Order 66 still goes down though.
But you don't know that for sure because you're once again you're just assuming that somehow he twists some other way, this and that. Like the thing is, in that scene when Mace Windu gets him down, it's tough because he is baiting him. But if there's another way they find out that Emperor is Palpatine, you don't have that Anakin sitting around stewing in his hotel being like, I'm gonna go there and mess up.
But the only way Mace Windu goes there is because, obviously, like I said earlier, Palpatine gives Anakin the news and then lets that carry on, and the Jedi go and try to arrest him and then kill him. But I am the Senate.
Oh, I am the Senate, yeah.
But then that means so that he never, if you take Anakin out, then Mace Windu and the other Jedi never go there, and they just die by clone trooper hands.
But you needed a reason to say Order 66, right? And the reason was Mace Windu turning. Because if they just do Order 66 and they go, Palpatine, why are you doing it? And he goes, I don't know. At least in that, he goes, well, Mace Windu tried to kill me. And
so then he just implements another kind of plot that thoroughly
Or the good guys don't see that plot and they win. Because there's no Anakin around.
But he knows that the good guys will, because the good guys have fallen so far down now that they're supposed to be peacekeepers. They're doing completely the opposite of what Qui-Gon ever wanted the Jedi to be. They're legit generals in the Republic Army, which is going against everything about the Jedi Code. And yet here they are doing just that. So
but that doesn't mean they're dumb. There's still a chance they could have found out about Palpatine eventually.
Oh, and there, like in the Clone Wars, there's many times where it's getting there. But like, even if without those opportunities, you know, the dark side. Plot armor. The dark side clouds everything. You know.
I wish.
So it's just one of those things. And like Qui-Gon even says to in A Phantom Menace. What was it? He says to Padme or the Queen of Naboo or whatever. Like I can't fight a war for you. What does he say? Like I am here to protect you. I'm not here to fight a war for you.
Yeah. I think he says. I think that's the line.
Yeah. So like, there's no Jedi replicate that in any other time, like throughout, so like even the movies.
Yeah, no, they're all pretty much, this is the war and it's happening, which is always spread. That's why I wish I got more on Yoda, because Yoda doesn't really, because to me Mace Windu comes off as the Jedi that's like, he's down for war, like
he's down.
Yeah, like
that's, the whole time the clones, he was fucking primed.
Well, yeah, and especially like he's what do they call that Jedi that's all about more lightsaber skills?
Oh, there's a term for that.
Yeah, we should get Kirkland. He's all in those. But like, there's all like the class. Is it like Sentinel or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah. So like, he was probably or Qui-Gon. I think Qui-Gon could have. You're right about the Grey Jedi thing. I don't think he would have joined Dooku. But if he was alive, I could have seen him going off on his own. Because the thing is, because the wars start after Attack of the Clones, right? So the thing is, let's say if he was alive and you played the exact same movie with Attack of the Clones with Qui-Gon. And maybe Obi-Wan's there. I wonder what would happen if Anakin is at that age and Qui-Gon says, I don't want to do this, and would Anakin step away with Qui-Gon, or would he, or like...
Oh, I think 100%. There is, I can't remember if it's canon or not or what it is, but it doesn't matter. There's a comic that actually details Obi Wan and Anakin go on a mission to a planet, and something happens. All these innocent people are murdered, and Anakin.
No.
Anakin drop. This is before Attack of the Clones, but Anakin actually confronts Obi Wan and implies that he wants to lead the Jedi Order, and this is something again that reflects heavily more of like a Qui-Gon kind of style.
Vibe.
Yeah. So,
well, because he was there. They didn't even have Anakin leave the room. Anakin was standing right there while Qui-Gon's just bad-mouthing the council the entire time. So stupid.
Yeah.
Like, get him out. This is a private conversation, but no, he's hearing all this. So, see, then maybe that's Qui-Gon's fault too for instilling that, distrust in the council the whole time with Mace Windu and Obi-Wan. If he doesn't hear Qui-Gon bad-mouthing everybody, maybe he's like, oh, these are good people, I'm going to listen to him. But really, he's like, oh, Qui-Gon who found me, who believed in me, he didn't believe in these people, so I'm going to murder them all.
Well, you never know.
No, you never know. Do you have anything else to say that you want to bring up on this Qui-Gon debate or whatnot?
Let me just check one of my notes.
But yeah, I said this while I said this in a Clone Wars retro. I very much want a young Qui-Gon series or movie. If that could get Dooku in there as well too. I would like a book or a comic book too, but that relationship to me it would be really fun. And Qui-Gon's one of my favorite. He's up there same with Mace as far as the prequels. I would love to get a young version of those because they're very interesting characters. There's people like Yoda, which I don't really want it because I feel I don't need to learn much. I feel like I got enough of them, but have you found your point there?
I'm just looking at what Yoda says, like that. On this point, the council would not agree, like what you're talking about. And just again, he's just so wise. Of course,
he's just so wise.
But be it
he could be wise or he could be wrong.
Well, because Yoda's on this point, the council don't agree, and Qui-Gon's of course. But be it the council or myself, I feel there is a loss of vision. He knows he's got that open mind much more than the Jedi do. Like I said earlier, how he sees, the opportunity for one character, a Jedi, to be that balance and to have control of both in a very positive way. The Jedi just see a tool that they can use, an instrument to take down the Sith or whatever like that. It's just wild. No, I don't think I got anything else on Qui-Gon. I think that's pretty much everything I covered. I definitely, my closing statement, I definitely don't believe he is stupid. I think...
I say that way to church. I don't think he's stupid. I just think that he was maybe a bit too bullheaded and that could have led to some of the galaxy's downfall. And they all believed in something, in my opinion, that wasn't true, which is the Chosen One myth. Because Qui-Gon was doing this, all the Chosen One... Look where we are in these new trilogies. The Chosen One means squat. It didn't get them anywhere. There's still a Kylo Ren. There's still a First Order. No, it's just going to be a circle.
That's for another debate.
We've already had
the debate, so I won't bring the Chosen One into this debate. But
listen to that.
For Qui-Gon, I don't think he's an idiot. I think, if you were to swap roles between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, it would have been...
Obi-Wan dies.
No, Obi-Wan... Hopefully he stays alive. But if they kill Darth Maul, then I think that it would be a totally different outcome. But I feel like even if you take Anakin out of the equation, the outcome still happens with Order 66. And I feel like, Qui-Gon definitely could have been the one to change everything in that sense. And yeah, it's just a shame because I think he was definitely, of the Jedi of that time, he was one that was still true to what the Jedi needed to be. So that's what I'll end on.
Well, it would have been interesting too, because I won't do any more close point, but it would have been interesting if he was his master and you do the same movie, Attack of the Clones, and Qui-Gon and Count Dooku met up and what that encounter would have been like.
Maybe there's some Darth Vader fanfic where he's imagining him.
Maybe he still becomes Vader. Maybe Qui-Gon's like, you're right, I'm going to join Dooku, and then Anakin goes with him.
Wow, that would be crazy. Oh my god.
maybe it was that, so... Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to Cantina Conversation. If you like what we do here, head over to Patreon because we talk about Star Wars all the time. Every time. No, not every time, but tons of time. Star Wars Clone Wars. Yes, we're reviewing the entire series on Patreon. At $1, you can get half of them. For $5, you can get all of them. We're reviewing the series, but also we just have countless debates about Star Wars. It is about Clone Wars, but it's just about the Star Wars world and lore in general. We've had many debates on them about Jocasta, and we got into it deep as far as Obi-Wan being in love and if that should be allowed. So, you have anything to say today?
I have one more thing, yes. I want to shout out the page, the Battlefront. They're on Facebook. There's
Not the game.
Battlefront.net. No, not the game. No, they're a page. They promoted us, and I'm doing a lot of work for them. There are tons of Star Wars stuff. They got legends, behind the scenes, canon facts, and tons of coverage about comic books and everything. So go check them out. They're a great source of media to engage with and dive into.
Those facts about George Binks.
George Binks?
Yeah. I wonder if they named George Binks because George.
Oh, it has to be. George is not a Gungan name.
No,
totally not.
Thank you very much for tuning in. May the Force be with you.
Always.